Alright, once again, Tuesday stream with a surprise 7th Fated one, which is the Fated One of Time. So let's begin. But first, some demonstration fight cards. Our first card is Steam Artist Avon, which is a grade 1 with power and the skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard, soul charge 1. But if you have at least a grade 3 Vladimir, instead of doing the soul charge, you look at top 2 cards of your deck to choose one card from among them and soul charge. If you do not put at least 2, shuffle your deck. So basically, if you're not on grade 3, it's a random soul charge. If you're on grade 3, you get a choice soul charge of the top 2. Obviously, this is already not too bad, especially when Vladimir needs at least 2 cards to bind from soul. But anyway, second skill, auto backward rearguard. At the end of your turn, if your critical of Vladimir was increased by the divine skill cost, retire this unit, draw a card, and if none of the other same name units as this card was retired this turn, your opponent gets this ability. At the beginning of the ride phase, choose a card from the hand and discard it. If they do not discard, they cannot ride or strike into the end turn, and this lasts until your opponent's next turn. So basically, since Vladimir already kind of does delete, this basically gives the Oaks the second skill of forcing your opponent to discard, except this time it also adds stride on top. Obviously must run because of the soul charge ability, while also restricting your opponent from riding even further, because this does count superior riding. And then another card which was revealed today with this stream, Fairy of Bliss True Lease, which is a grade 1 with power and the skills. Count rearguard. During the battle, this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Zorga plus 5 key power, so it's just one of those with the second skill where auto rearguard when boosting a grade 3 Vanguard Zorga, this unit gets plus 2 key power at the end of the battle, and if you have at least 2 buying normal orders with different names, choose one of your rearguards that gets plus 10 key power at the end of turn. At the end of turn, retire it. Zorga already it gets an enormous amount of power, and this is just basically giving even more power. Of course, this is just mainly a booster for Zorga, but considering the spacing of Zorga with the orders and some other key pieces, not sure how many copies would you run of this. If it did more like recycling, this would probably been better, but the power gaining is nice. And now to the new Fated One of Time ride line. Here's the starter, player of Oliphant Benitza. To the grade 1 with key power, player of Lovely Harp Adorphus, which has a skill auto when rolled upon by player of Beautiful Chord Elegina, which is of course the grade 2. Cost soul blast 1, draw 2 cards, choose a normal unit from your hand, discard it. If you did not discard, choose 2 cards from your hand and discard it. Kind of like Ranker Chain, except it's just discarding normal units. And considering that this is the Fated One of Time, it will have some Gear Chronicle characteristics like binding and recycling. So yeah, you're going to discard those normal units to recycle, spoiler alert. In which we go to the grade 2 with 10 key power, player of Beautiful Chord Elegina, which has a skill auto when rolled upon by the grade 3 Liael. Choose any number of normal units from your drop zone, put them on the bottom deck in any order. If you choose at least 3, draw a card, basically discard from ride deck along from your ride line, so you should be ideally be able to put those normal units to the bottom of your deck to get the extra draw. But there is a little bit of a problem with this deck already, that in a way you are discarding key pieces. In which we go to the grade 3 with 13 power, Fated One of Time, Liael Amorta. Yes, it has the equals in its name. The first cater unit to have the equals in its name. But anyway, its skill is auto Vanguard. When this card attacks, cost counter blast 1, choose one of your rearguards and bind it. And insert your deck for one card with the same name, and call it to rearguard, and of course shuffle your deck. The idea here is basically the same version of a unit comes back from the future, hence why you're binding the same unit just to call back the same unit. And for one counterblast for a multi-attack, that isn't entirely too bad, although not entirely as strong as some of the other cards already. But combining with the divine skill, which we will explain later, it might be a little strong. But anyway, it has a second skill where auto, when put on Guardian, cost discard a card from hand and put 2 cards from your binds onto the bottom deck, and then choose one of your fated ones. It cannot be hit until the end of the battle. Yes, you can basically use itself as PG. Sure, there's additional requirements to make this as an additional PG, and it has to be your own fated one. And since it says fated one, it could even be Raziel since it's also cater. And theme wise, this kind of makes sense. It's the Fated One of Time that went back to the past to protect their loved ones. And overall, I already kind of like this card because of this skill. It plays a little bit defensively along with a little bit of offense. And the fact that it's not Sentinel is an added bonus. But finally, the Divine skill, Auto Vanguard. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if your opponent's Vanguard is at least grade 3, choose one card with the same card name as this unit and ride it as stand, and if you roll, drive -1 the end turn. Once again, double attacking Vanguard. Similar enough to next stage where you're basically rewriting, except that it's a once per game, and because you're rewriting, you can actually use that first skill again, giving you basically 6 attacks in one turn. But if there's some reason a support card that can reset restand this because this is a time card. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to reverse time just to restand this as well. There can be potential aid, but I really hope that they don't make this as a restanding Vanguard as well from a support card. Overall, pretty cool. Basically focuses on binding the same unit to call the same unit, and of course the multi-attack aspect and also the Guardian Angel aspect. But do keep in mind if you're going to be using it as Persona, because you're going to need to debate whether you want to use this as a PG or Persona. And I can totally see Akina using this second skill to help him with his victory. And now to some support. The first card is being Savar Dragon, which is a grade 3 with power and skills. Count Rearguard. During your turn, if your bind zone has the same card name as any of your units, plus 10k. Luckily it says any of your units and not itself, so being a 23k beater for free is pretty nice. And then we got Magic Arousing Medicine Liael, which is a grade 1 with power, and of course it's the 13k booster if your Vanguard is Liael, with the second skill of Auto Rearguard. When this card boosts your at least grade 3 Liael, this unit gets plus 2k pounding in the battle, making it the 15k booster, with the cost of Soul Blasting 1, and choose up to one card with the same card name as any of your units from your drop zone, and put it to the bottom deck, and then choose one of your units, plus 5k pounding in turn. This is just overall pretty good to help you recycle, because you're going to go through your deck of those same units pretty quickly, so you might need those recycling as much as you can. And then we got Sword Saint of Interrogant Adrius, which is a grade 2 with 10k power, and this goes count Rearguard during your turn. If you have the same card name as this unit in the bind zone, plus 10k, free 20k beater, so it's not too bad, making it a bind target. With the second skill, Auto, when bound from Rearguard during your turn, if you have at least a grade 3 Liael, cost Soul Blast 1, draw a card, choose one of your Vanguards so it gets plus 5k power in your turn. As you can tell, Liael doesn't really get power on its own, so having some support to help you out with that is pretty nice, and also bind target because of the second skill. So that's it for the Liael support. Time for some Raziel support, or in this case, Divine Skill generic support with Kragagon, which is a grade 1 with power. The skill is count Rearguard. When this unit is placed by the ability of your Vanguard with the Divine Skill, it gets this ability into the end turn. Auto Rearguard. At the end of battle, this unit boosts, cost retire this unit, and countercharge 1, and plus 5k power. Basically, free countercharger for Divine Skill decks. The only thing is, it is kind of weird to use it with Liael right now, because that one wants the multi-attack, not multi-boosting, and you got a different use of a countercharge anyway. But in Raziel, this might actually have some use, especially when you're at the early game, you might have to call the grade 1, so this might be pretty decent. And clearing up your board for Raziel isn't entirely too bad either, considering that it can resurrect from the dead. In which we go to Knight of Bowstreaks Nobrius, which is a grade 2 with 10k power, and the skills. Auto, when placed on Rearguard by your grade 3's Vanguard ability, this card gives 10k power in your turn. I mean, this skill is generic, but the second skill isn't, where Auto Rearguard. At the end of battle, this unit attacked, if you have at least a grade 3 Raziel, cost Energy Blast 3, put this as Soul, draw a card, look at top card of your deck, put it on the top or bottom. Not only it goes to Soul, but you get to peek the top card of your deck. And there's few key things about this skill. One would be that it can clear up itself from the board, so you can actually call stuff with Raziel's skill to open rear guards. But the second thing is the peeking. Because of Raziel's Divine Skill, you could actually use this card to peek like after battle and prepare for Raziel's Divine Skill for the next turn. So this is just overall cool new support for Raziel, and definitely needed. So that's it for the new Faded One of Time ride line along with some Raziel support. What do you guys think of it? The new support is just overall cool, but the Liael ride line is just pretty awesome as well. Cool concept of course using same card units. I mean, it's not the first time we did something like this, but I do like the theming reason here, especially the Guardian Angel wise. I would say a bit lackluster in the offense department compared to other decks, but it does have a cool defensive skill as well, so it kind of works out. And hopefully there will be future support for this deck, considering that this one is from the future and we don't know what will happen if the Faded Ones actually survive. Since it's been said, since the Faded Ones died, there needs to be a 6 new pair of Faded Ones. But I do like the design of this one, and hopefully we will have a second pair of Faded Ones. But on that, that's it for this, and see you next time.